Thank you. So, on Wednesday, we looked at past simple. And we started learning it, and we learned the structure, and then I gave you a quiz, and then I got you to write questions on the board, and then we got problems. So, we did present simple already. Present simple and past simple are very, very similar. With present simple, when we ask a question, we use the question word, the auxiliary verb, the subject, and the main verb. The only difference between present simple and past simple for questions is the auxiliary verb. That's the only difference. In the present simple for questions, we'll use do or does. In past simple, we use did. The main verb in present simple and the main verb in past simple is always the infinitive, present simple first person. This is where we had a few problems. If we're using very simple questions, we're using just the verb to be. In the present simple, we use am or is or are. And in the past simple, we use was or were. Okay? So, the thing is, and I didn't realize this when I was teaching you, is that sometimes you can ask the same question using any verb or the verb to be. And this is a good example for the present simple. Where do you come from using the auxiliary verb do and then another verb in the infinitive is exactly the same as saying, where are you from? The answer is the same, England. But the questions have those, you can choose the structure. So we need to make sure that you choose, whichever structure you choose, that you follow the rules. So moving on to the past simple, I've tried to add the same question using a different form. So in the past simple, this was a really good question. When did George Lucas make the first Star Wars film? Is exactly the same question as when was the first Star Wars film? Yeah? The answer is the same, so you can use either. But you need to remember, if you're going to use any verb, not the verb to be, but any other verb, that we use the auxiliary verb do in the past and then the main verb in the present simple first person infinitive. And then if you use a question, if you ask a question using the verb to be, the verb to be is the only verb. So have a look at our problems. One of our biggest problems is that we miss the auxiliary verb do out. We make this mistake in the present simple and we make this mistake in the past simple. And from my perspective, this is the biggest problem for you to focus on, okay? Making sure that after the question word, we get that auxiliary verb in the past. When did Walt Disney make the first Mickey Mouse cartoon was one of the history questions. Question word, auxiliary verb, subject, main verb, with the auxiliary verb in the past simple, using the auxiliary verb do, and the main verb being infinitive. It's really important. So I've just written here the question using a verb with an auxiliary verb, and the same question using the verb to be. When did the first journey by train happen? Did happen. And or when was the first journey by train? Just using the verb to be. Over here, when did World War I start? Did and start. Or when was World War I, for example. When was Princess Diana's death? Or when did Princess Diana die? Did and die. When did Margaret Thatcher become the Prime Minister? I didn't ask this in the verb to be, but did and become. Remember, Become is the infinitive, became is the past simple. So we need the auxiliary verb do, and then we need the present simple first person, always. How old was Bruce Lee? Using the verb to be. Or when did Bruce Lee make? Did and make. Over here, we didn't get them all wrong. We got some of them right. Well done, Nicholas. When did Queen Elizabeth I become Queen of England? Really good question. We got a few right. This was also correct. Well done. When did the nuclear accident at Chernobyl happen? Did and happen. Or when was the nuclear accident at Chernobyl? So remember, present simple and past simple are the only two tenses in the English language where you have a choice of using a verb or the verb to be. With all the other tenses of the English language, there is no choice. There's only one structure and you have to follow one structure. But for these two supposedly simple tenses, they can be a little bit more challenging at times.